Well, good morning, everyone. Thomas Montgomery here. It's a beautiful Tuesday morning, October 18th, 2022. We get together with our distribution partners most weekday mornings at this time, 8 o'clock Central, to go through strategies, discuss success stories, and support each of you. Today, we're just going to go back to one of the most basic elements, but it's important that we understand, and it is the funding proposal application. Should be shown here on my shared screen. So most of you that are white label partners are taking primarily out to the marketplace the Access to Capital program, and that makes sense, right? Access to Capital, it's essentially a free program. There's no upfront cost to the client. There's no risk. They have a guaranteed capital raise. There's just not a reason they wouldn't want to give it a try. So as a white label partner, we need to get that client under contract. And you can use Adobe or DocuSign or some sort of e-signature software if you wish. You can work with Scott Stroud or develop on your own online a landing page with terms and conditions. But however you want, you need to get the client under contract. Once the client is under contract, and that's not the topic of discussion today, that's why none of that is shown on the screen. Once you have the client under contract, then the second step that you need to do is to get them to complete the funding proposal application. I'll shrink it down so you see it's very simple. It's a one-pager. We're going to go through it momentarily, but it's a simple one-pager. So if you go to your white label Dropbox, you'll find this there. It's called Funding Proposal Application. You can upload it into Adobe or DocuSign, put your fields on it, send it to them. Recommend having a daily reminder. They complete it, it comes back to you, and then you can send it to us. Normally, you'd put it in your white label Dropbox and let us know. Once we have this application, then we can go pursue their first tranche of financing. And a lot of times it'll be under their business, not using personal credit, but it'll depend upon the client's individual circumstances. We don't recommend getting this signed at the same time as the agreement. We recommend getting them under contract first, and then as a separate and distinct step, getting this application. You might say, well, why is that? This seems like more work. Well, human nature is if you're faced with giving a fair amount of personal information, you may become squirmish and you may back out. So once they're under contract, then it makes sense. Well, we need to keep moving forward versus asking them to do this before they're under contract. But ultimately, it's up to you. So again, we'd recommend that you upload this into once you have it completed by the client, which we'll talk about what needs to be completed in a moment. But once you have it back from the client, then again, put it in your white label Dropbox and alert us that it's ready for processing. This does not create any hard inquiries for the client, doesn't commit them to accept some sort of funding that they may not know the terms on. So at this point, we don't know what the interest rate would be or the terms or the payments. We need to get them some funding offers, and we will do so once you have this completed and again uploaded into your white label Dropbox and alert us of it. Let's zoom in and look at the specific fields. The top portion is, of course, as labeled business information, and as it states, this is optional. So if they don't have a business yet, if they don't have any of this information yet, it's okay. It's a very easy form. Of course, when they receive it, there's blanks on each to fill in. This is the template. But the bottom line is if they don't have any or all of this information, it's okay. They can still complete the form. We can still move forward. So let's go ahead and look at the fields of information. If it has been formed, we're asking for the official name of the business. Makes sense. If applicable, when was it started? And a start date is typically when it was formed through the Secretary of State. So normally you would file with the Secretary of State, and then a few days later, then the formation documents are created. So that is technically the start date. So even if that was 2 years ago and we've done nothing with it, that's still the start date of the business. The EIN of the business, employer identification number, sometimes called the tax information number. It's the equivalent of the social security number to people, but for the business, if they have that, what is it? What is their business address if they have one? Now, if they formed an entity, then they have to have a business address. But if they've not formed a business, then they don't have an address. So what's the address on record? We'd like to know what the type of address is. Is it set up as a residential? In other words, they're probably using their home address. If so, that's fine. We just need to know, are they using a post office box, a shared office like Regis or WeWork, what have you? And so again, there'd be a form field over here for them to answer that. What is their business phone number if they have one? What is their business website if they have one? Now, are these requirements? Absolutely not. Absolutely not. But we want to gather the data so we know what they do have. Next is have their average monthly bank deposits been over the past 3 months? And again, there'd be a field over here to respond to it. And so if it's zero, if they've not made any money yet, that's fine. It's not a prerequisite. We're not trying to filter people, but we need to gather enough information to understand where they're at so we can get them their first tranche of financing. Because with access to capital, the first tranche of financing is typically $2,500 or could be more, and that's so they can pay you. So they can pay you that $2,500 deposit. We want you to be paid very quickly. So let's use it as a timeline. On day zero, whenever that may be, the client signs up with you with the access to capital, no matter if you're using DocuSign, Adobe, terms and conditions, doesn't matter. So day zero is when they sign with you. Well, ideally, you will on also day zero send them this application. And then ideally on day one, the next day, then we should be processing it. That's the model. So could it vary from that? It could. So we want to get this application into us so we can get them funding offers, they get paid, and then they pay you the refundable deposit if you want it to be refundable, if not just the deposit, and then they also will pay you the performance fee. We need this information to figure out where to get their first tranche of financing. And lastly, business credit score if they know. So pretty straightforward. A basic set of information about the business, if applicable. If they don't have any of it or none of it, it's okay. Now let's get down to the individual's information. So the key person is terminology used to designate the owner or one of the owners, the designated owner of the business. So what are we looking for from them? We're looking for their first name, their last name, their title. Not like Mr. or Mrs., but what's their title within the business? Are they considered CEO, owner, whatever their title is? Doesn't really make much difference. It's just for reference. You'd like to have their cell phone number to be able to communicate. We already have their business phone number, and maybe they're using their cell phone for their business phone, which we wouldn't recommend, but that's not a barrier at this point. What is the email address to communicate with them? Their home street address, their home city, home state, home zip. We break that out just because some people will not give us a complete residential address, and we need that as we're looking for their first tranche of financing. Some of these questions may seem, now word it different. Maybe you don't like some of these questions, but frankly, it doesn't matter what I like. It doesn't matter what you like. It's what the lenders need to know for first tranche financing. So we're only asking relevant information, not out of curiosity, but we need to know. What is their home status? Are they renting? They own with a mortgage? Do they own outright? Other. And so again, there's going to be a little form field. We need to know that because that affects access to capital. I don't know if you knew this, and so I'm not promoting it or condoning it, but home ownership makes someone more credible. People that own a home have access to more capital than people that don't own a home. Just the way it is. That's the way it is. We're not here to evaluate the system. We're here to operate within it. Next, it asks for educational level. And yes, education affects access to capital. Again, not saying that you like that or dislike it, or I like it or I dislike it, but it's true. It's true. That's why the lenders ask for it, and that's why we ask for it on this form. Self-reported credit score, their social security number, their driver's license number and state, their date of birth, total monthly income. Let's read that again. Total monthly income before taxes, which means gross income, right? So it's asking what their monthly income is. Now, I know up here we ask about business deposits, but that's different. That's how much money is going into the business bank account each month, if applicable. Here's what their personal income is. And then how often are they paid? Are they paid weekly, bi-weekly, semi-monthly, monthly, or other? And then we have a little disclaimer. We'll go ahead and read it just so we're all clear on it. So please complete this brief application so we can identify available funding to create a funding proposal. Obviously, you and I know for their first tranche of financing. You are not required to accept any funding offers, and no hard inquiries will be made on your credit profile. By submitting this application, you provide written consent under FCRA for us and our partners and affiliated companies via email and or telephone numbers to explore funding offers and agree to the terms and conditions. So this is what you, as a white label partner, would provide the client after they have signed the access to capital. You can send it to them via Adobe or DocuSign, whatever e-signature. You can send it to them and they can fill it out on paper and scan it in. Not very professional, but you could do that. No really reason to set this up as terms and conditions online, but I guess theoretically you could. But the bottom line is this is the data set that we need. Why are we talking about it today? Well, it's an important part of what we'll call client onboarding. If you've not provided this to us, then we will not be able to help them get their first tranche of financing. This is the data set that we need. How much first tranche financing will they get, you might ask? I don't know. That's the reason we're going through this process, is to get them as many offers as they qualify for. They might get over 100,000. They might get 50,000. They might get 20,000. Maybe they only get 2,500, which is what's needed normally to pay you the deposit. Some people will get zero offers. We don't like when that happens, but some people will get zero cash funding offers. And if that's the case, that's okay. Then what will happen is we'll set them up on the 0% in-house financing. So they will get a financing offer, just not a cash funding offer. So everyone will get first tranche financing, and they should be receiving that within the first few days of enrollment, within the first week in most cases. What questions do any of you have regarding this instrument? Because this is necessary for you as the white label partner to collect the data set for us to be able to work with the client. Now, if the client doesn't want to get first tranche financing, so let's say you have a client that says, hey, I don't want to do this step. I just want that $100,000. Then you'd explain as well, that's fine. We need to build out your loan package to be able to qualify for that larger amount of capital. The loan package is business plan, financial projections, and so forth. There is a refundable deposit. And again, you can make it refundable or non-refundable, but normally it's refundable. But just using my normal terminology, there's a refundable deposit that you would pay. We'll build your loan package out. We'll get you the larger amount of funding. You get the deposit back. We don't build the loan package out until you submit the refundable deposit. We're going through this process so you don't have to pay out of pocket. We're getting financing set up. But if you don't want to do this round of financing, that's fine. Then you would go ahead and just pay it out of pocket, or whatever method you want pull it off your credit card or however you want to pay it. So we always want to be compliant and do what we say that we'll do. That's integrity. That's professionalism. That's our moral and legal obligation to do what we say that we'll do. And the client should do the same. The access to capital agreement states, and I'm not reading from it, but just in summary, that there's no upfront cost, which is true. We're going to help. There is a $2,500 refundable deposit, which is true. We're going to help them get financing. And then after that financing, then they agree to pay you that $2,500, which is true. And so with this application, we can look at what options they have. Many people will have multiple options, lots of options in some cases, and they can choose from one or more of those. And then some people, unfortunately, won't qualify for any traditional cash funding. So then that's where we'll have to spin over to the 0% in-house financing. The 0% in-house financing, you're still getting paid the same. We're still splitting that deposit with you. You're still getting $1,250 from it. And the 0% financing is set up where it's an ACH pull on a weekly basis. And so we have some folks that come to us and say, well, for the in-house financing, can it be some other structure instead of the $100 a week? And the answer is no. I mean, if the client doesn't want that, they don't have to accept it. They can pay you some other way. But what you and I know is in the subprime space, because these are individuals that didn't get any other cash funding offers, right? We've gone through the process based upon the information that they provided, and over 40 different banks, credit unions, et cetera, have declined to offer them a cash funding offer. So most often these people are what we call subprime. And that's not like a negative label, but it's an accurate descriptor. They're subprime. Well, there's certain best practices that you probably know, and I believe I know about working in the subprime space. And one of which is you set up smaller payments on a more frequent basis. So if you take someone that goes to a buy here, pay here car lot, it's not unusual for them to have to make weekly car payments. Why? Because sometimes these individuals haven't been responsible with their money, and you wait for a larger amount less frequently, you're less likely to receive it. If you go into Best Buy, if you can't qualify for the Best Buy credit card, but you want the big 72-inch TV to hang on your wall, will they finance it for you? Yes, but they have subprime financing that is weekly payments. So maybe that helps you understand if we're doing the in-house financing, it's 0% interest, can't beat that, but it is weekly payments. And the reason for that is for that reason. Now, they don't have to accept that if they owe you the $2,500. So let's use and have another point of discussion. So I had a white label partner I talked to this morning. Her client completed the agreement, check. Completed this application, check. We got the client one or more cash funding offers, check. Client accepted one of those cash funding offers, check. Client received $2,500, check. What happens after that? Well, then the client you need to invoice the client as a white label partner. You invoice the client for the $2,500 and whatever performance fee that's applicable, and the client needs to pay you. Now, the discussion I had with the white label partner this morning is, well, the client is kind of hee-hawing around about paying. It's like, what the fuck, right? They signed the contract. We've done exactly what we promised to do. Why wouldn't they pay? Well, she says, well, the client says they haven't received anything yet. Well, yeah, right? The client has promised to pay the $2,500 to the white label partner after the first tranche of financing, and then we build the loan package. So the client is either manipulative or a dumbass to say, well, I didn't get my loan package yet. Well, no fucking surprise, right? You need to pay the deposit and then you get it, right? Go to a hotel and say, well, I don't really want to pay for this room. I just want to go up there and sleep in it. Doesn't happen. Or go to Subway and say, I just want that turkey sandwich. I don't want to pay for it. I mean, the world doesn't work like that. So our proposition is very clearly stated. Access to capital, no upfront cost for the client. There is a refundable deposit. It'll be collected after their first tranche of financing. Most people will get cash funding offers, some won't. If they don't, then we'll do the in-house financing. Once they have either paid the deposit or at least set up financing, then what do? We go build the loan package so we can qualify for the larger amount of capital. All right, so let's see what other questions you have. So anyone that has any questions, comments, concerns, go ahead and put it into the question and answer of Dropbox, please. I'm sorry, of Zoom, not Dropbox, of Zoom, and we'll answer it. All right, so Quincy's asking if it's a brand new business. Yes, so to me, Quincy, it doesn't matter if they're a brand new business or they've been around 180 years. It doesn't matter. I would sign up for access to capital, step 1. I'd have them fill this out, step 2. I would then upload the completed application into your white label Dropbox, step 3, and then let us know so we can go get them their first tranche of financing. Now, it may come back and we see that they don't have the business entity yet. Maybe we could work with them to help them get their business entity set up with the Express Startup Package or what have you, but I wouldn't digress from that. I'd get them under contract, access to capital, step 1. I'd have them fill out this application, step 2, and then you and I can work together thereafter on subsequent steps. Good things happen if you do those first 2 steps. If you don't do those first 2 steps, you're off track, and we need to be doing those first 2 steps on at least 2 clients a week. If you do that, you're on track to make $25,000 a week. And again, I know a lot of you are big hitters, very successful, make a lot of money, or at least that's what you tell me. But the deal that you and I have as white label partners is we promise we're going to work together to go help at least 2 clients a week. And from that, you should be making $25,000 a week for a part-time gig. So that's what we're here to do, is to help you make 25 grand a week. All right, so hopefully that answered your question, Quincy. And so then the next question is, well, Quincy had another question. Quincy, I don't entirely understand it, so I'll try to summarize and you may have to put in a clarification, Quincy. So first tranche of financing is that first round of funding, should be very quick. So again, we did a timeline just a moment ago. So today they sign up with you, access to capital. Today you send them the application to complete. Now we're waiting for them to complete it, but let's say that you motivate them and they complete it today, because it wouldn't take long, right? How long would it take to fill this out? 5 minutes. If you had to look up some of the information, 10 minutes, next to nothing. And of course, this is needed to get them funding. So today they've signed. Today they filled out the application. Today you've uploaded into Dropbox and notified us, white label Dropbox. So now the ball's in our court. Within 1 business day, we should be processing it. I know we fell a little behind with the travels lately, but in general, we should process this within a day. Get them offers within a day. And as they get offers, then they can accept 1 or more of those offers. And then they should be receiving those funds as soon as the same day as that, possibly the next day. It shouldn't be more than a couple of days out. So they're getting money quickly. We love getting business lines of credit set up for clients. Not talking about merchant cash advances, but business lines of credit. We do a lot of those. That's based upon the business information. So they should be getting funding within a few days of signing up with you, assuming that you've done step 1, get them under agreement. Step 2, get this completed. Step 3, upload it into your white label Dropbox. Step 4, let us know it's there. We need to then process it. So it's great. So that gets them 1 or more funding offers within a couple days. All right, Quincy, let me know if I missed your point there. All right, Phyllis is asking about, and so Phyllis has got a great question. So Let's talk about your responsibilities, Phyllis, and white label partners versus ours. So it's your responsibility to get the client under contract, and the contract is between you and them. You have your white label Dropbox. We've provided you an editable template of the agreement. You put your information, your desired pricing, your desired terms and conditions. So that is the responsibility of the white label partner to get the client under contract. It's between them and the client, between the white label partner and the client. Step two, it's the white label partner's responsibility to get this app filled out. And it's the responsibility of the white label partner to get this app uploaded into Dropbox. And it's the white label partner's responsibility to let us know that the completed application's in Dropbox. We should know, but we don't want to make that assumption. Great. So now the white label partner has delivered a new client. Now it's time for us to do the work of getting them one or more funding offers. So we take the app, we get them one or more funding offers, and we communicate those offers to you as the white label partner. And then you can go back to the client and say, and we'll give you the detail, and we can communicate as much as you need, but you'll know what they've been approved for, how many offers. If I were you, I'd encourage them to accept all the offers. They've been extended, but that's frankly up to you. In other words, they can stack them. If the client did not receive any cash funding offers, and thus we need to go to the 0% in-house, we will let you know that. We will send the client the Adobe, and I'm getting to Phyllis's question now specifically. We'll send the client the Adobe for the 0% financing. We'll copy you on it. You'll encourage the client to complete that. The client will complete that, and then we move forward in building out the loan package. So it's not your responsibility as a white label partner to have a bank relationship, to set up ACH, and to bill the client for the payments if they're doing the in-house 0%. We will take care of that. Now, with that, talking about the 0% financing, the way a few of you have spun it, and you can do it if you want or not, but a few of you have said, hey, sign up for the 0%. It's 0% interest, can't beat that, $100 a week payments. And it may only be 4 weeks, right? Because we need normally 4 weeks, 28 days to build out your loan package. Then ideally we'll be able to go after the large business funding, and then the deposit won't have to be paid anymore. And in fact, you'll get back what you've paid in, because that's the way the refundable deposit is designed. So theoretically, they're agreeing to pay $100 a week for 25 weeks, because that's what equals 2,500, and that gets you your 1,250 and us our 1,250. However, ideally, it would never go out that long, right? After 4 weeks, we should have the loan package put together. Ideally, at that point, we're going after the larger capital raise. So there's the answer to that. We have another person asking, why do we bother with the deposit? Well, your time is valuable, and I don't think that you should work for free. And so if we're going to be interfacing with the client and building their loan package out, there's nothing wrong with them paying a deposit for that effort, which they get back. I know that for the average person, and you're not average, but for the average person, the whole concept of loan packaging is gray. It's not normal. It's like, I don't understand that, or why do I need that? Well, it's crucial, right? We need to have the loan package to be able to get funding approval, and we need the loan package to figure out where to go get funding to truly understand the client's mitigating circumstances. I can tell you that on the open market, a loan package would sell for $5,000 to $10,000. So what you and I are offering has a double benefit. First of all, we're reducing it from $5,000 to $10,000 down to $2,500. Secondly, we're making it refundable. So yeah, you'll pay the $2,500, but you get it back. And thirdly, you don't have to pay the $2,500 up front. You'll pay that out of your first tranche of financing. So 3 benefits, not 2. It's a strong proposition. But I do realize that the average client's like, hey, I don't want any of this. I just want funding. Well, You don't know what you don't know, I'm afraid. You have a case of financial illiteracy. We can't just go get large amounts of capital without figuring out A, where it should come from based upon your circumstances, B, having a loan package to communicate to the lender what you're doing with it and that you qualify. And thirdly, making sure that you do meet the credibility standards. And if not, that's what you and I do, is we help them improve their credibility so they can get approved. So in summary, today's discussion was about the funding proposal application. It hasn't changed a bit, so this is not new. This is not different. I just wanted to take a deeper dive into one of the documents that's in your white label Dropbox so you understand why we use it, how we use it, what your responsibilities are, and what our responsibilities are. All right, Sam has a question. So Sam asks, if the client pays the $2,500 upfront, which some will, quite a few will actually, if you give them the option. So Sam's asking, if the client pays the $2,500 upfront, do we still need to do this? And the answer is no. No. If they've already paid you the $2,500 upfront out of pocket, which is not required under access to capital, but if they want to do that, and some will, then we don't need to do this. Now, we can still do it if they would like an initial tranche of capital even before we've built out their loan package. So it's fine to do it, but the purpose of the first tranche financing, the purpose of this application, the purpose of this process is to get you paid the deposit quickly so we can go build their loan package and get them the larger amount. So thus, if they've already paid you that, then this becomes optional. So great observation. Any other questions, comments, concerns on the funding proposal application we've covered today? All right, so if you're a white label partner or an RVP, we should be scheduling weekly one-on-one calls. We covered that in yesterday's training. That's important for us to make sure that we're on track, that we're supporting you. We had a couple already this morning. So what do? We go through literally every client that you submitted so far. What's the status? Making sure that they're moving through as fast as possible, making sure that you're happy, making sure the clients are happy, addressing any issues or concerns, helping you be successful. If you're not enrolling at least 2 clients a week, we've got a problem. We need to fix that problem. Is it you don't have leads? You're not very good at closing. You don't have a system set up. It's okay if you're not there. We need to fix it though. And the way we fix it is through one-on-one communication. We covered that yesterday on training. All right. Well, thanks everyone. We'll see you back tomorrow morning. Have a great day. Bye-bye.